Giving the lawyer a call. Before getting married, me and my wife met online. We spoke for a month, then stopped as she said she was seeing someone else. A couple months later, she got back in touch and we messaged for a few months. We met up on 3 dates and both decided we were the ones for one another. 12 months later, we wed. Red flags were clear from the start, but I was oblivious and caught up in a whirlwind romance. A month prior to getting married, she told me she had met her ex. After I had proposed and put a ring on her, she told me he had been messaging her online. She stated she wanted to get revenge on him for leaving her. This is her idea of revenge. Hear this one out. So, she claims she pretended she was single and agreed to meet him where they usually met, in a car park in their cars. Then she tells me that nothing happened. She sat in his car and when he advanced on her for physical part, she up and left. I asked her how this is revenge. She said by her telling him she won't be with him and leaving, that was her way of getting her own back. This left me reeling. I was confused and 4 weeks away from the wedding. She said she had to tell me as she was worried he would. I was livid. I called her mother and had a sit-down talk with my soon-to-be wife and mother-in-law. The mill hadn't her back all the way, saying nothing happened and it was her way of getting one over on him. I said to them, wouldn't the best way to get revenge on an ex be, here's a ring on my finger, your loss. So anyway, I went through with the wedding. I put family first and didn't want to disappoint anyone. Big mistake. Couple of months on, I told her I vape now and again and she hit the roof. One day while I was at work, she went through all my old cupboards and found old lighters and boxes of cigarettes and other memorabilia from a trip to Amsterdam. She hit the roof. She took pictures of them and sent them to me. She showed everything to my mother and packed her bags to leave. By the time I got back from work, she had locked herself away. I went to sleep in a different room and she woke me up to scream the house down. Moving on, Christmas time. She kicked up a huge fuss as I brought her gifts, which was not to her liking. First Christmas as a family ruined by her. 2 months later, we buy a business together and my parents move in with the two of us. She stopped talking to my mother shortly after and dropped hints for them to leave. We were expecting a baby, which we lost. Things gradually got worse. She became violent after seeing old messages on my phone from 2 years ago, which I didn't delete as they were harmless. Arguments excelled and she started throwing things, a table lamp at my head as I lay trying to sleep. She verbally abused my parents and they moved out. On another occasion, when my uncle said he was coming to visit, she would argue throughout the night, jump out of the car while I was driving and storm off to her parents in the middle of the night. This was stressful. Even after my parents left, me and her were not getting on. She would spend time with her family and come home and be so aggressive to me and talk about financials from my side of the family for the business we had. Cut a long story short, 2 months ago we had an argument in the morning and she slapped and punched the back of my head. Not the first time. I had enough. I left and went back to my parents for 2 weeks. Her family came over and apologized and groveled for me to give her one more chance. She says her anger is from losing the baby, which I understand, but it's not only her who was affected. It's almost an excuse for her actions. I went back for a month and during that time we had 2 major arguments which went on into the middle of the night, which led me to have to get out of the house and take a drive for an hour to get away. I went to see her family and explained the arguments were still happening. They got some reason, found reasons to blame me for her anger. For example, the Sunday before I went and stayed at my parents' house, and for that she was entitled to be angry and abusive. The last straw was when her parents started calling up my family members and grandparents saying that I had not invited them to a family function. This was all planned by my wife and them. I could not handle the plotting behind my back and left for the second time, and I'll not be going back. She keeps stating that her verbal arguments and violence stems from losing the baby, but I can't mentally cope being in a toxic environment. Comment: wait for her to hit you once more. Then pick up the phone and dial the cops. Have her charged with DV. Make sure that she is arrested and taken away. Then start the divorce. You will also be able to effect a restraining order against her. Do this, as she is mentally unstable and her family wants you to do the heavy lifting with her. You can do much better. Let her hit you. You will need IC sooner than later. For what you are going through, what you are about to go through, and frankly, why you got married to someone in a whirlwind, as you said. She needs IC more than you. No marriage counseling or couples counseling will solve this, since this involves things that are really out of the ordinary, even for couples that have problems. OP responds: I will be starting divorce proceedings but letting the dust settle. I have one thought over the line as I have left and won't be going back. It's just confusing how someone can have such anger and hatred in them one day but the next be fine. When I highlight the arguments from a few weeks ago, she claims they are in the past and also stated she has made improvements as she hasn't hit me again. Her parents fill her mind with rubbish. Her mother to my face has even called me a liar and claims I have used them. God knows what I've used them for. I also pointed out that mentally something is not right, to which they all dismissed. The first time I walked out and tried to go to NC, she sent me numerous text messages apologizing, sent me pictures, videos of the two of us, and claimed she wanted to rebuild, reconcile, and move on. Since the second time I have left, for good, she again has tried to do the same, sending me the I miss, love you, and can't live with our you, need to work this out messages, 2 over the past week. For the record, the first time I left she actually thought I had left, and when I did go back found the very few remaining items that were mine in a small cardboard box, and learned how she contacted a relevant company to potentially sell our business. She also told me that if I had not come back, she would have left and gone a bridge to work, live. Over the past week, 2 messages from the wife have been sent stating how she misses and cannot live without me. Now, I'm not being selfish, but if anyone wanted someone back, I would have expected a bombardment of messages. I have done this in my younger years when I was losing a partner who I was actually in love with. The strangest thing was when I returned to give it one more goes, at her request and her parents, I noticed the few remaining items of my belongings in a box. The business we have jointly was receiving calls from an estate agent whom the wife hadn't been in touch with to potentially sell, and she said she would have moved abroad to start a new life to avoid the shame of being a divorced woman from where we come from. She's actually quite a smart woman to have had all that prepared the last time I walked out. I shudder to think what Shen may have prepared this time, knowing I won't be coming back. Perhaps so. On the other hand, they see everything clearly and it's a get-out clause from their part in some mysterious way, God knows. Both early 30s. Been 2 weeks no contact from my side. She has sent a couple of text messages and an email today saying she wants to try again and make us work. I have taken her off all social media and the majority of my family have taken her off too, yet wife still has pictures of me. I find this confusing. She knew the last straw was when her parents meddled in and started calling my family, putting the blame on me. Every time I get a message from her, it's cast doubt in my head and a small percentage of me thinks she can change, but deep down bridges have been burned. I'll never forgive her parents for waiting in against me. It wasn't fair for them to do that. Well, this is the second time I have separated from her. The first was a couple months ago after she was violent. During the time I went back, she said she was changing. I asked how. She said, I'm not using violence now, am I? Yes, this is true. She wasn't physical as such. Still threw things after one argument though, but her verbal arguments were still visible on average once every 10 days. I don't know why she now messages me every 5 days or so. Perhaps she could be going through the motions, showing her family she's trying to get back in touch with me. It's odd. How can she not see that the arguments we've had and her parents stirring the pot big time was the last straw? The I love you and miss you messages actually are quite depressing. Rather not hear from her at all. When I first went back, I decided it was right to sleep separately to first build on our relationship again. When I did share a bed with her, I told her it's best to use protection. At first, she was angered and hurt by this, but as I explained, it's not healthy starting a family. She eventually agreed. Then lo and behold, we argued again. Her parents were involved. And after that I again decided to sleep in a different room. Yes, she did say she needs help therapy, but it's as though she's relying on me to physically book it. The hospital did say they offered counseling, and she told me she regretted not taking it. She has a habit of being in constant touch with her family, forever in message group chats with her dad. As they lived nearby, they were first point of call for her. My parents moved out last summer after she chucked them out, so they very rarely get involved. Only when her and the family turned up on our doorstep asking for a second chance after I walked the first time. Her parents are quite religious, well, only on Sundays. They have been taking her to a place of worship for Asians where it's been known culturally that people with serious issues or problems in the past go to. It's their way of cleansing and getting closer to God. The ironic thing is, a month ago, she spent a full day there with her family and came back with a chip on her shoulder. We got into an argument that went on until around 1 a.m. based on finances, her side supporting our business more and mine, nothing at all. I don't understand why she felt the need to meet her ex in a car to get her revenge. I have told a few people about this and their first response was, what the hell? When she first told me, I was inches away from ending it and not going through with it. I thought to myself, maybe it's my destiny to get married to this girl. Everything went so quick after meeting a few times, and I did feel right only up to her revealing her secret. Even after I spoke to her mother about it, I came away thinking that I was the stupid one for overthinking it. They both managed to talk me out of thinking the worst, and I almost felt bad for making a deal out of it. When we have argued, I have brought it up, stating I should have seen the red flag earlier. Her response was that she was honest, as Shen loved me, and that even if it killed her, she was going to tell me. Now, if the boot was on the other foot and I met my ex in a car and told her 4 weeks before the wedding, I highly doubt she would have been understanding. In fact, when she found old text messages from girls who I hadn't even met from a dating site, before I even met her, she flipped and kicked off. It kind of pains me knowing that while I was on cloud 9, putting a ring on her finger, she was leading a double life, messaging her ex saying she was single and meeting him. The thought still makes me sick. I could have easily met up with countless women before the wedding but didn't. For her to do that and be an absolute cow to me and my parents is just not right, and she seems to think any bad she has done is in the past, and if she's apologies for it, then it's forgotten. I need to talk about and consider the feeling of doubt. Some days I wake up and thought out the day I dwell. I think about what if she can change once and for all with the help of a professional. The feeling lingers on all day, and it actually is quite depressing. There is so much potential in this relationship, but I can't be held responsible. There are some days that the doubt goes away when I think of the reasons as to why I have left. I'm finding myself caught up between the two. Secondly, should I be responsible for someone who has anger issues like she admitted? Should I have been, or should I be responsible for ensuring she got counseling for the miscarriage? Again, I'm caught in two mindsets. Sometimes I feel I should be responsible as her husband and I actually feel sorry for her. Other times I think it the fault of her and her family for not getting it diagnosed earlier. Just my thoughts today. Having some thoughts today. I almost feel depressed sitting around doing nothing all day. I have tried to apply for jobs, but it's like going back 10 years to when I struggled to find work in the first place. I'm also drinking quite often, most evenings, which is making me feel rough. I think it's knowing I have walked away from the business me and her both had that's hard to take. She will be busy and occupied working every day while I'm stuck in a rut. Someone asked me the other day, are you happier now compared to when you were there? That's a difficult question to answer. If I had my own job to go to, I'd be coping a lot better. The business we have, it was purchased by her parents, but I worked for the past year and brought it to where it is now. I can't even stake a claim to get income from the business, as we always argued that we still had to pay her parents back for the loan. Also, if we do divorce and sell the business, I wouldn't be able to contest half of it. Morally, it would be wrong, but I wouldn't have a penny moving forward with my life. I'm getting messages from her saying she doesn't know why I have just walked out and left again. Now demanding to meet and talk, or she said her family will arrange a meeting with everyone. Oh, and she also said that I don't know the values of marriage and that she has committed her life to me through marriage and said she won't give up. Really, I agreed for her to come to my parents' house and talk, seeing as she was saying she didn't understand my reasoning for leaving. I also invited her to avoid her turning up with her family unannounced, which she did last week. Funnily enough, me and my family were on our way out and politely declined to sit down with them, especially as it was unannounced. So, I explained my reasons to her, her anger and the actions of her family. She agreed that what her parents did was wrong, but states she had no idea what they were doing. Again, she blames her behavior on the miscarriage, but when I asked her about her anger before that happened, she just says she didn't know how to control it. So obviously there's an ongoing issue with behavior there. Also, I didn't like the way she spoke to my parents, telling me that she only wanted to speak to me alone and not while they are in the same room. Firstly, it's my parents' house, not mine. Secondly, I wasn't comfortable being alone with her based on her attitude and not knowing what she could have said or done. I told her I felt as though she was never loyal and never had my back, which is what married couples should have. She spent hours here and was hard work getting her to leave. So, over the past 2 days the messages have begun again saying she's in love and is upset and sorry and she wants to prove loyalty. I can't stand these emotive messages, they mess with the head. My family don't want anything to do with her. Even if I were to contemplate giving it a go, all bridges from both sides of the family are well and truly burnt to the state of no repair. She does have the old school mindset when it comes to marriage and divorce. However, she obliviously wasn't ready to get married if still in cahoots with her ex weeks after I had proposed with a ring. When we met over the weekend, she also said she wouldn't accept any divorce or sign any papers. I said I will quote unreasonable behavior and she chirped, oh, someone has done his research. Obviously she has also done research, as she knew about the 2 divided by 5-year separation period before divorcing. And for the record, she began to hate my parents during the time she chucked them out of a rental house we had together. My parents only discussed this with her parents 2 months later, after she refused me entry to our joint business. So to clarify, my parents having a sit-down with her parents led to her feeling betrayed beyond belief to the extent of hatred. What I now find funny is her parents have called up my uncles and grandparents to badmouth me and portray me as the bad person and instigator. So, if she felt betrayed when my parents had a sensible chat, how do I feel about being labeled the fault in the marriage? Almost half a year update. It has been NC since June and the divorce is underway. Most days I'm fine, but today I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel it's just such a shame that this didn't work out. I know full well living together was not working with her attitude and her family input. I guess I miss the times we had when we were happy. I just miss the idea of what we had. I'm tempted to message, but how stupid of me to even think that when I am the one who sent the divorce papers. I had a momentary lapse and felt overwhelmed. My comment: please stop second-guessing your decisions. You miss what might have been but isn't. Make a list of all the reasons you wanted a divorce and read it when you become sentimental. Her toxicity is not going to change. I know it's difficult, that's how divorce goes, but you'll get through this. There's no upside to contacting her, so don't give in to the temptation. Story 2. The Shallow One. I grew up an only child from a lower middle-class family. Father was a Navy veteran who worked in a warehouse, and mother worked in a dress factory, sewing clothes as a seamstress. I had a 6-year relationship that went south, which started in high school. We were engaged, but she left me. I met someone else sometime later, we fell in love, and got married. Married for 20 years. It was rocky at times, but we seemed to work things out. My child started driving independently recently, and my wife's time shifted to concentrate on herself. She wants a separation. I grew up, as I said, being less than fortunate. I stayed in school and eventually became a physician. I served in the military and moved into the private sector. Boy, the money was definitely better, and I was like a kid in a candy store with a big wallet. Got crazy at times, getting various things along the way. My recent hobby has been guns and reloading. She wants me to change my ways, stop being selfish and making myself a priority. She wants me to get rid of my guns. She wants me to change who I am. If I follow her, my career is not ideal at all. In my specialty, I currently have a dream job with high pay and more than a generous vacation. It's definitely in the top 1% of the pay scale, maybe even higher. I have no debt aside from a mortgage, which just helps reduce my tax burden. My house is well over $1 million, but I owe less than half. I don't have credit card debt. Everything is paid in cash. I don't know if I can change my ways. I want to, and I have been given a chance at not spending like a drunk sailor, for a lack of better terms. Shooting and guns has become a passion for me. I love my wife. I love my child. I am in internal turmoil on what to do. My wife and I have drifted apart, mainly from me socializing with my friends and taking people to go shooting with me. I've never cheated on her. I never will. I never had an intention of ending a marriage, but that is what she wants. How do I do a 180 and change myself so drastically? Make myself less selfish for myself. Give up my hobbies. Change my personality. Do I seek psychiatric or psychological help? Do I seek a counselor? Any advice? In my specialty, because of the very high pay, there is a lot of greed amongst different private practice groups in the area where she wants to move to further her career. There is always a great deal of political turmoil. I'd be coming from a locale that has no real competition to a locale that has several hospital systems competing for the same business, whereby salaries are a mere fraction of what I make, 2/3 to almost half, with much less vacation and longer work hours. I have been married for 20 years. My wife wants to separate because of my personal selfishness with my time, my priorities, and my spending habits. My salary runs anywhere from high $400s to low $500s SGS. I have no credit card debt, no student loans, no car payments, except for a mortgage where I have 10 years to go. My daughter is getting ready to go to college. I'm working since I can pay her tuition in cash and I don't qualify for financial aid. My priorities have been on myself and my hobbies. It helps me deal with the stresses of work. However, my hobbies have taken a lot of time and money. Not to the point of me not paying the bills, however. I take care of all bills, retirement, college savings plans, before I consider spending on myself. I also donate to local causes, mainly for organizations to help disadvantaged children. She wants to separate and I'm torn. I don't want to do so because I love her, but I find I cannot change who I am. We will legally separate and stay in the same house until my kid goes to college. I don't want to separate, but I'm intrinsically lost. I don't know what to do. How do I make others a priority over myself? How do I change myself? She says there's no chance of us getting back together. I got all of the chances to change my ways. I need to stop spending so much, get rid of guns. Do I just move on and get in with my life, or radically re-engineer myself to make myself back into who my wife fell in love with? God help me. She makes 1/6 of what I earn. I earn high 4 to low 500s. She can become promoted if she were to move, but the pay is not what she's after. It's the sense of accomplishment. I forgot to mention that her family is wealthy. Dad is a self-made multi-millionaire. Much of her family is extremely successful. Hence my goals of earning to that potential. Many live in the most exclusive neighborhoods of their respective cities, towns. I met her uncle, who guided me towards what specialty I am in. He is why I'm in a lucrative field, myself. But she is not about the money. She says she could care less about it. My daughter has a trust and she is pretty much set for life, set up by her father. I'm just a working man getting paid. I'm not concerned about financial fallout. I love her. It has always been in my mind to be together forever. I don't want to separate. She is not cheating on me. She is a workaholic who works from home. We are busy with our lives with our daughter. We spend family time together on weekends. I used to go to the grocery store and errands with her, but I stopped for whatever reason. Our daughter has so many activities through the week and I have karate that the weekdays are just tough. One main thing I know is I got hooked on spending time in social media, mainly Facebook or reading news. She said she never wanted to move where we are now. It's not like I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's a decent-sized large town. I thought she was happy working from home. It's a very large house, with an outdoor kitchen, renovated kitchen, 2 decks, a heated saltwater pool and hot tub sitting on just under 8 acres. It even has an elevator. It has gorgeous views from every window in the house, including the closets. Maybe my priorities of wanting and earning a lot just drifted away from what she wanted. I have no intention of marrying again if we do get a divorce. I will just live as a lonely man. She doesn't need me for her happiness. I was torn to ribbons and cried. My father was dying of cancer and she helped him so much. She did what no other wife I could see do until his dying day. She is a selfless, caring woman with a heart of gold. In fact, I love my in-laws, too. They're great people and have been proud of what I've accomplished. I even pay my respects to my teachers who helped me become who I am. They're my Facebook friends and they see what seed they planted to help me succeed. They're proud of me, as have been my family friends, friends of my parents. I honestly live to my full potential, not to brag, coming from a very humble background. Where does this lead me? I always wanted to be a doctor. I love my career. I help a lot of people, particularly who don't have insurance. I grew up much less fortunate, and I take the approach of helping people as I would my own family member, being as thorough as possible to give the best outcome. Many medical students enjoy my teaching, my approach, and my methods. I'm in an area where people still value my expertise and appreciate what I do. I love my town and the people in it. That is what is so gut-wrenching. I work so hard to get the dream job, the dream wife, the dream house in a town that I thoroughly enjoy. My spending is not like I'm buying super high-end clothes, watches, jewelry to show off. In fact, I'm most comfortable in boots, jeans, and a t-shirt. I don't care about those type of luxuries. I have tried to change my ways and can't. I'm a selfish individual who cares about nothing but himself and his friends. That's my problem. I've tried to help other people to the point, time or financially, that I have neglected my wife in the process. I sent money to help a poor high school classmate who needed money for bills and her dog. I helped my god sister by sending her over $1,000 after her husband offed himself with a compound bow in front of her. I have gotten so wrapped up trying to help others that I neglected my own. I was given numerous chances and failed. Money doesn't buy her happiness. I thought all of our trips and traveling were something she enjoyed. She exaggerates that I spend so much that she sees none of it. The money I spend on my hobbies are a mere, tiny fraction of my money. I guess I neglected her in time. Time not spent with her, not paying attention to her. In retrospect, that where I lost her. I'm in a dream job and location. She wants to be in another city to further her career in her organization. When I met her, I admired her because of her intelligence, beauty, determination, and ambition. Unfortunately, my job doesn't lend that kind of flexibility to move. In terms of career, I'm settled here and I can't find a job like this in the city of her choice. I spent time in the military to get my training and education. Now I have to strongly consider giving up everything in my career. I just don't think I could do that. I guess we are better off separating and moving on. I neglected her with my attention on my friends and hobbies. Socially, I destroyed my inner circle, for a lack of a better term. Well, my wife is away for a week to help her dad with a debilitating neurological disease. I heard a song this evening and texted my wife a screen capture of the title. It was called "You're the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me." She was pretty evasive and negative. I think she's really done with me. I think she despises my mother, too. My mother is a passive person who is another point of frustration for my wife. Oh well, I have really tried making some efforts even from long distance without any real progress. I called my in-laws to see how my father-in-law was doing and gave my mother-in-law some advice about what I thought they should do for his disease. At the end of the conversation, she said she loves me, and I said I love her also. I said to give my love to Dad, too. I don't think her parents know. I'll be heartbroken because I love her family. Her siblings, her cousins, aunts and uncles. I'm losing an entire family when I lose her. I have spoken to 3 very close friends who say it's not worth trying to change or sacrifice. Why career to meet her ultimatum? One thinks she may be undergoing early menopause, and another said it might be midlife crisis for her. I'm not one to judge. She's a decisive person, and that's what I love about her. She always knows the right things to say and do in a diplomatic fashion. Except when she is talking to me. I was in the denial, anger and bargaining phases. But I realize there is no further compromise. She wants to move forward. I'm getting someone to do some work on my house to set up for selling the house. It is a tad big for 2 people, Mom and me, plus 2 aging dogs. I have lost 35 pounds since I was diagnosed with diabetes. She has been so supportive along the way. Through diet and exercise, I have gotten off of medications. If it weren't for her, I couldn't do it. She has always been my strength and support. I just took it all for granted, I see, now. But I know I can't change myself or give up my hobbies. But I can change other things that I hope could still make her happy. It's just moving is something I can't do, either. At my age, moving would set me back. I love my community, my town, the patients and the work. I get excited to do work. It just gets taxing at times that I need my hobbies for an outlet. Other colleagues I have with me have no hobbies, and I can see how stress affects them. I have mentored a colleague and introduced him to my hobby, and he's been a lot less stressed, too. I was going to buy her a house, cash in hand, 2 years ago, but the realtor dropped the ball. My mother went on a trip for a year. When she comes back, I want to buy her a house in the town where my father is buried. I think she will be happier there. That's where my mother's friends are. So yes, that is part of my plan anyways. I plan to cut back on my hobbies and time spent like that. Concentrate on my family. Get off my bottom. Get out of that damn cave I have been in. Stop having such narcissistic tendencies. That's what I have. But I've seen much worse. This past few days that she has been gone, all of the comments I see and my recent conversations with friends have been an eye-opening experience for me. Start making a difference in my house as opposed to outside of it. I hope I'm not too late. I have to see what compromise can be made because the ultimatum won't work for me either. I want some form of common ground. I want to change. I'm flying to her right now. I went to the wedding that she is attending for her cousin. Her great uncle, who is like the godfather, asked me to come. He called me at 8:30 a.m. and I packed, flew out there, and arrived at 5:30 p.m. Her whole family was happy that I was able to come. I have been helping her and her dad, as dad needs physical assistance with dressing and going to the bathroom. I am devoted to my family and my extended family. I love them all. I have gone to a full court press and focus, and I will be giving up social media. Focus on my family, my wife, my daughter, and not let life pass me by. An update: my father-in-law passed away from pneumonia in May. It was devastating to me because he was doing so well 3 weeks prior to the event. He was so excited to attend my daughter's graduation from high school, his oldest grandchild to graduate. That was tough for me. I was close to him. Then my older dog passed. My daughter left for college, and we have been empty nesters. Our relationship has improved since then. I do a lot with my wife again. I'm learning to cook. She and I choose shows to watch together on television. I do stuff in the house and do my share of what needs to be done. On weekends, we plan to go to various festivals and events or parties. This weekend, we are going away for a few days to watch some musicals in Broadway. I think the lesson is this: you need to prioritize your life to what matters most. Family and your other loved ones. Nothing else matters. 22 years together. I hope it lasts forever. My comment: despite the sad news, you will persevere together as long as you rightfully say, you prioritize what matters. You do need to be happy in your activities, but always be aware of the weight it casts. Your wife has, and it's not your job to sell her or convince her you will or have changed. That is hers to own. So, choose your type of happiness and understand where your desires lead you and how such can either complement or disappoint. Another balance. Once you recognize it and act on your own scale, you will see how your life scale will present things just how they are if you take the time to observe. People say when a woman says she's done, she's done. I know some believe that because they have experienced it, but for many who have, there are many who have not. That gives hope for you.